Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
It was kind of not a happy accident, but almost like coincidental that so many nonprofits kind of got lumped in.
I think it's great.
Because it's just, we want to reach new audiences. And if you care about this thing, beer should just accompany that.
Right.
I think it's great, too, from us. For me, I was telling Andrew, I'm like, it's only a half year later. I'm really going to scale back this year. Just because.
Dude, I said that, too.
Right? Yeah. I was like, I'm really going to scale back.
Dumb shit to myself.
It's cute that you thought that.
I
went to 21 events last year. I'm going to scale back this year. And then I was like, looking at the lineup, I'm like, oh, man, but it's a great opportunity to get Quinn exposed to us being involved in the community and helping out. And I was like, man, there are all these good events.
Yeah.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington.
Whoa! Keep talking. I'm going to hook up the speaker.
I will. Oh, yeah. I will absolutely do that. Although, I don't know. It seems quiet in here. Everybody's being so polite. Thanks for tuning in. We're a little short-staffed today. But yeah, my name is Matt McLaren. I'm not here, as always, with Ron Swarner. Ron is actually out doing his tournament of beer shenanigans. Yeah, that's what I was missing.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
Really nice. Yeah.
So Ron's out doing tournament of beer stuff. Bethany had some family stuff come up and called out today. Not that this is a job.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Phaedra's hanging out. How's it going, Phaedra? Thank you.
Good.
And then Doug is on mic. How's it going, Doug?
Greetings.
Greetings indeed.
Not bad. Except for the cord in my headphones.
I thought you electrocuted yourself for a second. That's like what I had in my head, was like you just tased yourself.
Doug and the beard.
Yeah.
The beard has a whole separate...
I know. It's awful. But I don't care.
So yeah, sans Ron and Bethany and sans guest, we were actually just going to hang out and do a little Tacoma Beer Week recap. The last two episodes you guys heard were the ones we recorded during Tacoma Beer Week with Dusty from Lander, State Street, and Wiley and the Logan Brewing guys. But we haven't actually had a chance to talk about how Beer Week actually went. So that's what we're going to do today. And you guys were hanging out. And we have a guest coming on who I assume probably set the record for attendance for Tacoma Beer Week. So surprise guest for the second half.
Yeah.
So yeah, Phaedra, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Running around a little bit before this, but I think I'm not sweating completely anymore, so I'm calming down. I've got a
You're
delicious
glowing.
beer. I'm glowing, thank you. I glow a lot, Doug, thanks. So...
What delicious beer do you have?
Lost Abbey, Belgian blonde. I don't remember the name. Devotion, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Does that sound right?
Yep.
Oh.
Classic.
Are you going to ask me next?
I am going to ask you, yeah.
What is it? It's the red. It's the red.
Block 15, Ridgeback Red.
That's it.
Hell yeah.
Ridgeback, Ridgetop.
Ridgeback.
Ridgeback?
Ridgetop is Silver City.
Thank you.
Ridgeback is
See?
Block 15.
I'm not good on that.
Don't question the master.
I know. What was I thinking?
It's lovely.
The reason that I know that so specifically is because I called that Ridgetop the first 2 weeks that I sold Block 15 because I also used to sell Silver City. And then somebody was like, it's Ridgeback. And I was like, oh, shit.
That's completely something I would do.
Yep. I said it.
As I just proved. So, yeah.
Is the other one a red as well? Or?
Yeah, it is another
Well,
one.
Yeah.
see, it's even more confusing. It's easy to get confused.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Block 15 is better. I'm joking. They're rolling. I'm joking. I know.
Fired?
Ian was just on 2 weeks ago.
Are we allowed to say that?
I'm joking.
I'm kidding, Ian. Yours is also great. I actually have Threshold's Baltic Porter, which I am very excited to see up here in Tacoma.
I just listened to the Logan Brewing episode this morning, and you talking about your love of Baltic Porters, and I didn't even see that on today.
Yeah.
So I'll
This
have
is
to go
like-
check that out.
So yeah, actually, Lee, XBP, the guys who you guys hopefully heard him on the episode that they came in and did, just picked these guys up, and it was fun. So like, I went to a Threshold event down at Juicebox in Centralia like years ago. Like when they first started, he was still slinging kegs up in like his Subaru, but he knew Michael from Vice, who's been on a few times as well. When Michael ran the Juicebox, he did one of the Thresholds like early Brewers nights there, and it was super cool. And it was like all the beer from top to bottom was so good.
Nice.
And so I always hoped that we would be the one to bring up to Washington. I'm very jealous of the Lees for picking them up. However, the Lees already sell the only like traditional Baltic porters that you can get in Washington, so it does make
it's a
sense
nice-
that these guys would actually go with them.
And we like Lee's, so
Of course.
Yeah.
No, it's
Just getting the beer up here is what's awesome.
yeah. So if you're listening and you haven't tried Threshold stuff yet and you see it, absolutely grab some. They make awesome fucking beer, especially this one.
Very cool. That'll be my second half beer.
I'm
I'm already planning.
I told Lyra I was grabbing that, and she was like, I'm going to wait for my second beer to have an 8% Baltic Porter. Fair enough.
It's a 2-hour
Oof.
episode or whatever.
I know, doubleheader today.
Doubleheader
Yeah.
night day.
Today's a great doubleheader, too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So yeah, we wrapped up Tacoma Beer Week. Hopefully you guys tuned into the last couple episodes we did with Logan and Dusty from Lander. That beer ended up so good, and like a ton of people that week, had nice things to say about it, which was awesome. But yeah, we just wanted to like talk about the crap that we did during Beer Week and how it actually went. And
So many things.
I know it was a lot. We did like a little stats recap. We did 50 events, although it could have been more like 51 or 52. It was like 50 plus, which is insane. That's like by far the most events in Tacoma Beer Week ever. But there's also 31 different locations, which is also huge.
And that's after just having done it in August,
Yep.
right? So the turnaround was pretty short comparatively.
For sure.
Didn't have a whole year. So how much more is that from the year before? I don't remember. Like
So
how many events did
some
we do
events were recycled. So like
Okay.
so like the Derby we did.
Yeah.
Like we kind of have like a sort of these like established kind of like anchor events, we kind of call them. The stuff that like if it didn't come back, we'd probably get questions. And we know that for a fact because last year we didn't do the beer and cheese pairing and we got 20 fucking emails that were like,
that
hey, what
was
the hell?
Best event.
So we brought that back, and it turned out so awesome. But yeah, so we have like anchor events. So like the Heidelberg Derby, like I really want that to be an anchor event. It's super fun. Tons of kids come out for that one too, which is super
Nice.
cool. Not that I want a bunch of kids hanging out in like a little brewery, but like
But
it's
Seven
really
Seas is
fun. It's
set
like a
up for
fun thing to
that,
do, and
so,
like we've
yeah.
talked about Seven
Yeah.
Seas being like a community gathering spot more so than just like a sole brewery
Right.
where somebody might go to Taiwan on. Kids have birthday parties there. It's like it's legit. So
Start the kids like on a lager or a field.
yeah, just
Leads them in.
I know if the kids like sneaking beer in high school, but it's a Heidelberg.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll allow it.
Yeah, all right.
Bro, you know.
Kudos.
So that one's super cool. Actually is
Right.
definitely an anchor. That one like went so well. We raised a ton of money for Feed 253, so we had to bring that back. So Sean and RJ and I spent months writing 90 questions. We ended up using just over half of them. So we got a whole nother year
Sweet.
in the bank.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, and then like the cleanup that we did with Trash Pandas was also awesome. We've done that a few years in a row now. We did brewery blocks the first year, collected like 250 pounds of litter. We did 6th Ave in August and hit like 400 and gosh, what? August was like 437 or something like that. And then this year we did brewery blocks again and collected 480 pounds of litter. So yeah, it's gotten bigger every year, which is
That's
awesome. So yeah, those are like the anchor events that like did return. They still take a little bit of planning, but a lot of like the bones are already there, so that's
Right.
really cool.
Nice.
And we know what days we want those to be on, and then it kind of becomes easy when like a bar or a restaurant submits an event and they're like, hey, we want to do it at this time. Well, if it's like a family friendly event, but it's on the same night as like the Derby,
Right.
we might go, hey, like, what about a different night?
That
Like
makes
we don't
sense.
want any overlapping
Yeah.
audiences, basically. So yeah, it was some repeats from August, but a lot of it was just from
Nice.
scratch. So we all had ideas of stuff that we wanted to do either in August and couldn't make it happen, or like after last beer week, Ginny and Lyra with their beer science fair that happened at E9, which was a fucking so much fun. That was like the coolest event.
Yeah.
That one I feel like has to be some kind of anchor event. But yeah, something like 70 or 75 people ended up like voting in the beer science fair, which that's probably 100 people showed up.
I went and I
voted.
was a secret judge.
Were you?
I was, and so I don't even know how it all turned out because I left.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know who won or what
Who won the prize?
Yeah,
I think Dustin. It was Dustin, right, Lyra? Michael. Oh yeah, these guys were here too. Yeah, Dustin. Striplin from Browns Point. So It was in partnership with the Browns Point folks, the absolute nerdiest group of local homebrewers that I know of. And Dustin is the motherfucker that wins everything always. And
Which
of course,
one did he do again?
One.
Remind me.
Okay, so here's my theory. Here's my fucking theory. So Dustin was there talking about like homebrew systems, right? But he had his like grandfather there with him, and I am almost positive every dude who got a little closer to getting his wife to agree to letting him buy a grandfather voted for Dustin to win the science fair thing. Because he should be a salesman for those fucking things. And like, I've wanted one for a while. I want like an anvil for like, just to like have in my kitchen and I can make beer. And he was like, dude, you should totally get one. Here's why I like it. And it was like, he's like the fucking Billy Mays of like all-in-one homebrew systems. And I swear to God, every dude who was like, I could probably pick one up this weekend. Like, it's cool. I think it's probably fine. Voted for Dustin. So that's my theory. I'm not saying he didn't earn it, but I'm saying that's where it came from. Paul's like, you're fucking yeah. But all the booths were awesome. Matt Hibbs, who's been on before, did an awesome booth where you can like do flavor infusions, which is super cool. And he had like his pizza beer.
I got to because he was like dropping it into the
I spent some time at that one.
Totally, it's super fun.
Yeah,
I think I put like coconut and vanilla in my amber ale. It was delicious. Like, but it was cool. It was like fun and interactive. There was like a ton of people there. Jenny brought her like disco light, which was kind of awesome. It was like super sick for like a science fair event. So yeah, that one turned out really cool, and like that was like kind of one of those ideas that came up and like really kind of took the whole 6 months of planning. If we had any less time than that, it might have been difficult to make it happen. There was a few events kind of like that, but honestly, like there was so much more engagement from all of the bars and restaurants. People were just like, hey, we want to do something. And
31 locations. 31
different venues.
That's crazy.
Yep. So a lot of places we reach out, like we'll reach out to some places and go, hey, we have this thing that we want to do and we feel like you guys would be a good fit for it. Here's kind of the fully pre-cooked idea, or like we just need a spot. And so that comes up a lot, which is awesome. Like places are much more likely to participate if they don't have to do a ton of work. But then there was a bunch of places who were like, hey, we want to do this thing. Can we put it on the calendar? Nice. And that was awesome. There was way more of that this year than there has been in previous years, which was really cool. And it was like a bunch of new spots that have never done Beer Week events before, but they just wanted stuff on the calendar. And everything, as far as I know, was really well attended. I worked a lot of events, but I also just attended a bunch. So at the end of the week, I think I had done like 21. And just about everyone I went to was like well attended, very busy, outside of like a couple of small things. But
I went to the E9, the pre-funk one that with, was it the Filipino food with Jan Parker?
With Jan Parker, yeah.
That was good.
That was awesome. So the pre-funk, that actually ended up being, we've done pre-funk events like that before, and they're always really cool. We did one in August, we did it with Sig, because he made the Brown and Haley beer. The year prior, I think we did one at like Beer Star or something. We did a couple of different locations. But like doing that at E9, it just ended up being way crazier than I expected. The place was standing room.
It was.
There was a line out the door.
Out the door.
For like 3 hours, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I talked to Todd about it, and he said it's probably their busiest night, probably since like 2021, I think, because they were one of the only places doing like certain business during lockdown stuff.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, they were really happy with it, and Jan was really happy with it, and that fucking beer just like
Oh yeah, it was great.
Stole the show.
Yeah, the beer was delicious. The food was delicious. It was just fun to see everybody out and about, and yeah.
Actually, I say stole the show. You know whose fucking beer stole the show was Emma's Sweet Stout.
Emma's beer on nitro.
Those motherfuckers.
That barrel age on nitro. I can't stop talking about it. Yeah, no, I was like, and did you know?
Yeah.
That yeah.
Everybody
It's true.
came for Bayani Han, which was awesome, and
Right.
like that whole beer concept and everything came together so well. But yeah. Everybody that week tapped a barrel-aged version of Emma's Sweet Stout that she won the homebrew
Yeah.
Pro-Am for in August.
Yeah.
And it was fucking spectacular.
It was so good, and I love Sean because he just pours a beer for me, and I just drink whatever he pours.
Of course.
Which is it's what he's always done. But
That's what a good relationship is based on.
right. And then my second beer was the nitro.
So good,
so
man.
delicious.
And it was a surprise.
Yes.
Like I didn't know what was going on. Like a bunch of people
I didn't
didn't.
either.
So
Yeah.
they kind of just sprung it on folks. But yeah, so if you guys remember, we talked about it back then, but we did a Pro-Am last year. It was too quick to turn the Tacoma Beer Week Pro-Am around for this year, but we do want to do it again for next year. But Emma, actually Matt Hibbs' partner, brews this absolutely world-class sweet stout. A lot of people
Harpua.
agreed, Harpua. A lot of people agreed that it was one of E9's best beers ever, and it was Emma's beer. And so they barrel-aged it for 6 months and then put it on nitro and released it during Tacoma Beer Week very sneakily and quietly.
Which makes sense now that you think. I mean, I'd heard that they had barrel aged it,
Yeah.
but never thought about when they would release
Dude.
it. But
Yeah,
why
it was-
wouldn't they do it
it was
during Beer
perfect.
Week? So
It
yeah,
was so
it was
good.
delicious.
So, and then a couple other places had it on tap throughout the week, which was really cool. So that was like a fun surprise. And yeah, that is the beer that probably stole the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was delicious and fabulous.
What I love, so like Bayani Han, which is the beer. So we did an episode basically for all of our beer collabs. The only one we didn't do one with was Jan Parker and Gina about like kind of what we called sort of like the official Tacoma Beer Week beer. There was 4 kind of official beers this year. But that one was like an early idea actually that Jan had. So last year in August, we did the matcha IPA with Lucky Envelope. So that was with Gina from Delightful Neighborhood Market. That was a
Right.
beer that she brewed herself with the help of another Browns Point member, John, also a very skilled home brewer. So, and then they entered it in She Brew, and she took 3rd place for the first beer she ever brewed, which was super cool. So she
Very
like
cool.
got a medal for her first beer ever. And I was like, dude, I bet we can do like a big batch of this. So we did it at Lucky. And it came out great. And then we actually did a dinner event with Jan Parker. But Jan came up for the brew day when we brewed the matcha IPA. And Wes was over from Fukuoka Brewing in Japan. He brought like
gosh.
really nice ceremonial grade matcha from Japan to use in the beer. So it was like this perfect like day. And like Jan came up and of course brought a bunch of food because she's awesome. And so like we all sat around drinking Lucky Envelope beer on brew day and like, you know, shoveling grain and doing that whole thing. But when she left, she was like, this is so much fun. Like it's way more like cooking than I thought. It was just like, it was cool to see her like dip her toe into sort of this experience.
Right.
And then she came back and she was like, has anybody ever put calamansi in a beer? And calamansi, if you're not familiar, it's like, it's referred to kind of colloquially as like Filipino lime, but it's like a small citrus. It's similar to like a kumquat kind of, but it has lime and like grapefruity flavors. It's really punchy. She uses it in her cooking all the time. And
Okay.
a lot of like Filipino and Southeast Asian cuisine includes calamansi, but there's not a lot of beers ever that have included it. So I sold Shimai Toshi, which they're a yuzu farm, and they worked with Zogo House in Portland to make that yuzu lager.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what that is. So we all kind of like figured that we would try something like that, like do a calamansi and a lager. And so John again with Gina and Jan put together this like unbelievably delicious calamansi rice lager,
Nice.
and it was so good. And it was almost like, it was still totally a beer, but it almost reminded you of like drinking a Radler. There was so much juicy, citrusy
It's
flavor
really
in
good.
it.
Yeah.
And like seeing people form a line out the door to buy a citrus lager and not like an imperial stout
Yeah.
was like very cool to
yeah.
see.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
it was a lot of people were drinking that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very good. Are we going to have them on maybe, or can we do that later? Or,
We'll
I mean, I
figure
know it's
something
kind of
out.
come and gone,
So
but
she's if you follow Jan or Tacoma Food Stuff, she's actually in the middle of her Hilltop restaurant project, Reina's Filipina Kitchen.
Got it.
But between that and her just being like a legit fucking Food Network star,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she'd have to sign something to be on the podcast.
wow.
I think.
Okay, all right.
But I think Gina will come on anytime.
Okay, cool.
So yeah. that was like a cool project. And
Yeah.
like the thing that there's so much that I love about that. Like Jan, obviously, like, you know, I would not have the idea to put calamansi in a beer. I love beer and I love unusual ingredients, but that ingredient doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have any significance to me personally.
Right.
But she was like, I want to see calamansi in a beer. It's something that is culturally significant to me. And we've talked about this before. We talked about this with Strumke when he was on, is like, you know, he travels all over the world. He is like the dude that encourages, you know, he has a partner brewery in Brazil, and he tries to get them to use their own native fruits in
Right.
beer instead of just adopting European and American traditions into their beer. And he's like, you guys have this cool stuff to work with.
Right.
You should work
Use
with this.
what's
So he's a
there.
huge
Yeah,
advocate
that's
for
awesome.
that. That's actually where his like quote that I bring up a lot is, beer should be an accompaniment to culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like it should just highlight the things that's interesting about you or your background. And so when she came to us with this idea, it was like an opportunity to like make that like a real thing. And I that was like really exciting, and everybody really loved it. But she posted about it afterwards, and like I will probably well up fucking talking about it. But she, like, the quote that she had was like, watching everybody enjoy a piece of my culture in a pint glass made me really proud.
Oh,
and that's like
cool. Yeah.
that's like, I think the industry does a lot of work to like try to be as inclusive as possible, but I feel like that's probably the most important thing you can do is like
Yeah.
show people that it's not that difficult to get people to like embrace something that is
Yeah.
significant about your culture if you put it in a pint glass, right?
Yeah,
And I
that's
feel like that kind of stuff helps open the door a little wider.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, it was, so I was like proud to be a part of that project, and I'm glad that they did it for Tacoma Beer
Nice,
Week.
yeah.
And E9 obviously killed it.
Yeah, they did. And then Parkway had it on the Randall on Monday.
With just all kinds of
I
shit.
don't even remember all the things, but it was really good.
I'm pretty sure Mac went to like, she went to like H Mart and just bought every piece of like cool produce she could think
Yeah,
of.
it was awesome.
Yeah, it was
but it was
so good.
delicious. Yeah, all the things. Yeah.
But yeah, you guys heard about all the other beers. We had tons of release parties for, or like tons of events for the Goes with the Flow. That beer turned out great that whole week.
Yes.
The beach cleanup was awesome. It was, so South Sound Surf Riders, who we did that event with, is like very well organized. They like weighed every single bucket when it came back. Like, it's funny, I was like joking about this because like Chris and I, Trash Pandas, have done a couple cleanups now. And like sometimes if you're driving down the street, you're like, oh, it's clear that this place could use some love, right? Like you can just see it.
Yep.
Or you're driving down like Ruston Way, it looks really clean. But like when you have 100 people scouring
Yeah.
like this quarter-mile strip of like beach, we ended up finding like almost 320 pounds of litter. And then tide goes out, and then all of like the heavy metal and stuff, and like lots of forks. You motherfuckers eating at these restaurants can't hold on to your
hold on to
forks.
your forks.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Mason and I went under the docks, and we found 5 forks.
It's true.
So those are at my house. I'm kidding. They're not. But yeah, so that was really cool. And like, we all fucking came here afterwards and drank Goes for 3 hours.
I accidentally walked in. I was doing other work type stuff, running errands, and I was dropping something off, and I accidentally walked in, and it was overwhelming. There
Yeah.
were so many people here.
At like
it
3
was
in the afternoon.
yeah. I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna drop this off, and I'm doing the things, and walked in, and it was just packed,
Yeah,
and
it was
everyone's
insane.
like, hey, and everyone's got their shirts on, and
Yep.
yeah, no.
It was great. And
Yeah.
Ron blew through 2 kegs of Goes
Yeah.
in like 2 hours, which is unusual for that style of beer.
Really, for sure. Yeah.
But that was the case all week. Every event that those guys did, I mean, like Communities for Healthy Bay, they promoted everything so well. They did
Yeah.
this whole series of events. Their clean water, clean beer kind of initiative was super cool. And every event that they did was just gangbusters, dude.
Yeah.
It was like so cool.
Yeah.
But everybody was blowing kegs of our weird sour beer with San Juan sea salt and lemon balm.
So my favorite event, I think, there's a couple of favorites. Anyway, was the beer, the beer and
Beer and cheese?
Beer and cheese. Thank you. Beer and
I'm so
cheese.
glad that was your favorite.
No, it really was. It was, and Marcus he could not stop gushing about it as well. So he was just like, he just every time And he has a dairy situation too. And so for him to be just diving in anyway, despite how much pain it was going to cause later, he just didn't even care.
Dude, I love lactose people, dude. Like, they just don't give a fuck.
No, I mean, mine isn't as bad as his, but yeah, no, he just went for it. And it was awesome. The pairings they were perfect. It was just great. Being in that space for me, because I think I told you that used to be our
that was your cafeteria.
So it was still throwing cafeteria vibes for me, and I was having a hard time.
How long ago was that, Phaedra?
I was pregnant. Well, I had Sienna right before I started there, so I started there in '99.
Okay.
And worked there for about 5-6 years.
And
Yeah.
so to be clear, so we did the event at Stink, and they just reopened it on like the ground floor, or like the first level floor of the 909 building.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of businesses and
27 years ago.
yeah,
Long.
and the county court of appeals, I think, is there.
Yeah, which Marcus didn't know. He was like, "Oh, look at that."
I feel like he should know that, right?
But it was just a great event. Yeah.
That made me happy, and there was a ton of people who came to that event who had been to previous Beer Week events, or had done like beer and cheese events when we'd done them in the past. But it was awesome being able to work with Stink. So those guys work with actual suppliers, which is awesome. And so like if I have a really specific idea, they're like, "Oh, I know exactly what to grab."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, I wanted to do this kind of beer with this kind of cheese," and they're like, "Okay, well here's the options." And it wasn't like in the past we've kind of like, been sort of limited to like Met Marcus cheese selection, which I don't want to complain because they have fucking 1,000 options and it's great.
Right.
But it's also like the last time that we did it where I felt like it was like a killer event. Actually, we had the help of Erica Baird, who used to work in the beer industry, but was actually a cheesemonger previously.
I think you mentioned that before.
Unbelievable well of knowledge
awesome.
for cheese
cool.
and for all things beer and Germany. Yeah. But yeah, so she helped out with one that we did with at Pint Defiance a long time ago, and that was great. And I felt like that kind of collaboration again with Jenny and Steve at Stink, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think it helped the event come together really well.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was very cool. That building is also the site of my fuck up story that I mentioned a while ago.
Really?
So if we have time, maybe.
Hell yeah.
Maybe I'll share it. It's really embarrassing.
But right now. Here's a hint.
Doug's thirsty. He's got a hole in his glass.
Jesus. Does that mean it's break time already? All right. Well, let me chug this real quick. Well, yeah, stick around for a second. We're going to bring a special guest on. We'll be right back.
Right on.
Hello, this is Eric Hanberg, host of Citizen Tacoma and a co-founder of Channel 253.
And this is Doug Mackey, the sound producer and also a co-founder of Channel 253 and host of Off the Record.
Channel 253 is about Tacoma and things that are interesting to Tacomans, and we are here for you, our local residents, to tell you what's happening in your community with food, elected officials, politics, all sorts of other things.
Beer, for heaven's sakes. And what say you gals may be on again, too. You never know.
So we are asking for your support to keep the microphones going. $4 a month or $40 a year helps us with a membership. You can go to channel253.com/membership to find out more.
And if you're a member already, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out during the break. As always, a quick shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer.
You were too kind.
Thank you, Doug, as always, for making us sound lovely. And Chris for putting us on video.
Yes.
If you guys haven't yet, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Green and Green podcast. Yeah. And then I know you heard it on the break, but go check out Channel 253 as well. Awesome network of local podcasts talking about all the stuff that's super important, especially right fucking now.
Yep.
Yeah. Phaedra, we have new beer in front of us.
We do.
What is this?
It's Urban Roots Barley Wine.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't ask me the name because we've already talked about this. I don't remember, but it's delicious.
This is so good.
It's so delicious.
Jesus Christ.
I know. That's what matters is that it's absolutely
Urban
delicious.
Roots is unreal, man. Their beer is so good. Doug, is that new beer? What is that?
It's a Super Saison.
Which Saison is that?
I don't know who made it.
No?
Freem.
Freem? Oh, it's
that
Freem,
would-
yeah.
Super indeed.
Super indeed. They blew the keg.
Dang.
This is the last one, folks.
Doug killing kegs of Saison, man.
Dangerous.
So we have a special guest on the mic. Somebody who's actually been here most every week, which I appreciate so much. Probably long overdue that you're actually sitting down with us, man. But this motherfucker did more events during Tacoma Beer Week than I did, and he's not even on staff. So, yeah, Paul, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Thanks.
Good to have you on.
Thanks.
You're my second favorite Midwesterner.
That's good. Hopefully the first favorite is really awesome.
It's actually Billy Bob Thornton's character from Fargo.
Okay.
So
That's legit.
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, man. And thank you so much for coming to so many fucking things during Beer Week, dude. It was awesome to see you like every single day. And yeah, like I said, I think maybe besides Kai and Jenny, you did more events than any of the staff did.
Does he get like a medal or a plaque or
Now he does. Now that you said it out loud, Jesus.
Gold jacket. Honestly, make that medal and plaque out to my partner Andrea, because without that,
she's a
definitely
good sport.
would
True, that's
not
fair.
have been at that many events,
Yeah.
especially since we have a 2-year-old. And
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the key was like really time management and then involving the family as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So-
So
Yeah.
what was the grand total? Did we say?
23, you
Yeah,
said?
it was
Is
right
that
around
right?
23.
Jesus,
Yeah.
dude. That's awesome. Well, Phaedra said the beer and cheese was her favorite. Did you have a favorite?
So actually, that one's always
Where's
great.
this going?
I really loved actually. The beer and cheese was also really epic. That was my first time there, and
cool.
honestly did not disappoint, especially being from the Midwest, Wisconsin, where cheese is epic. So yeah,
I didn't even
really,
think about that. I impressed the Wisconsinite
Really
with the
loved that.
cheese
With
pairing.
cheese.
Yeah, and Andrea too. She was just like, "Whoa, what the heck? This thing is like blowing up in my mouth." I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of the goal."
So I've
was
talked
so
about
good.
this. I've talked about this before on the pod, but like I've studied food and beer pairing a lot. There's whole entire books written about this subject. But like you can kind of still fuck it up. Like even if you have a good idea about how something is going to work, you don't totally know if it's accurate until you just try the stuff. But I was happy we didn't really have to make a whole lot of last minute changes. All the pairings worked the way that I thought that they would. So yeah, I'm super happy that event went so well. It was so fucking busy. So like Kai was there helping me as well. And her and Jenny were on, if you guys are listening, a few weeks ago talking about Tacoma Beer Week prior to the week starting. But she does like a lot of like our behind the scenes stuff, does a bunch of social media during the week. But I also just kind of told her that she needed to help me with beer and cheese.
That's the best.
Because she was the most vocal advocate for it coming back. But yeah, she was running around all night, walking people through pairings, and was being a fucking beast. And the whole restaurant was booked and busy all night.
Yeah.
They were sitting people in overflow seating, so we were walking out to the fucking lobby of the 909, like giving people flights of beer and cheese. And it got to the point where I was like back prepping food in the
I know. I
back and
saw that. I'm
stink.
like, what is Matt doing? He's going back in the kitchen.
Not
and-
supposed to be doing. Like, we're not a registered nonprofit, so like, whatever. But once we're a 501c3, I won't be able to do that shit anymore.
yeah.
So yeah, it just ended up being a crazy busy night. But I'm happy that event was received so well, because there was a ton of work going into it, and it was a ton of work that night. So glad it translated.
Yeah, no, like I've already said, it was really, really great. And the thing that I don't pay as much attention to is the beer and food pairing part of it. I figure if I like the food and I like the beer, then it's
and it
all
should
good.
just go, right? Yeah.
And if you really put some thought into it, and if you know what you're doing, the right combination can really make a difference.
Totally.
And really say something and enhance the whole.
So we did.
Experience.
The way that we did it was we used three of the Tacoma Beer Week beers. So No Bad Time was in there, Bayani Hun was in there, and Goes with the Flow was also in there. Goes with the Flow we did actually with a. That's the one that we did with a bite of blue cheese, and that one fucked people up. That was like my favorite one.
That was my favorite as well.
Was it?
Yeah,
good.
I ate it. I'm like, all right, love the beer, love the cheese.
cheese.
Yep.
What the hell is this pizza thing going on in my mouth?
Dude, seriously.
Like,
Yeah.
it was so good.
Can I have some more, please?
Yeah.
So we've.
This is the smallest piece of cheese I've ever seen. Can I have some more?
It was really nice blue cheese.
No, I get it. I totally get it. I just wanted more.
It was appropriately priced for the size. Yeah, it's like one of the nicest blue cheese, and It like kind of had to be because I think if you went over on the funk and like you kind of lose some of that herbal character, so that like when it turns into like a bite of actual pizza in your mouth when you try them together, that would have been gone, and it would have been straight barnyard. So it took that, which is awesome. And that's like where working with Jenny and Steve kind of understood that.
Yeah.
But that's like one of those bites. Like we talked about, we had a great notion on when Paul was here, and I told him we did the food pairing, and I made a little French croquette. Tastes like a bite of a cheeseburger with their Grzyckia. I love doing that. Like if you can take a bite of this food and then a drink of this beer and it tastes like something completely different, like a drink of goes and a bite of blue cheese and it tastes like an actual slice of pizza. That's insane. But it's so funny to watch people's brains just like melt.
Trying
over
to
that.
put it all together and like what? And
Yeah.
That's good.
Because each of these things are so different by themselves, right? But you put them together and it's this insanely familiar thing.
Yep.
Dude, yeah. So yeah, you were busy, and it was also super cool to see Andrea and the kiddo out for the week as well. Did she? Besides the cleanup event and cheese night, did she come to actually too?
She did not because she was watching Quinn.
Oh, word.
We did have her out to the beach cleanup, and Quinn was there.
Oh yeah,
being a part of society, which is awesome. Kind
Sweet.
of showing her how to take care of our community.
Hell yeah, dude.
Awesome.
And then
I
we
made
went to the
Mason go,
Trash
too.
Panda, which was awesome.
Sweet.
We were at the Kazooie night with Sig kicking that off with Andrea and Quinn. And
So what was the
then,
Kazooie night? I didn't
It was
go
the
to that
collab
one.
with Logan and Sig.
Yep.
To do their double hazy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a whole tour of Tacoma.
Yeah.
They did 4 total collabs for that week.
I know, that's insane.
And came down for releases
I know,
4 different
that's
times.
crazy. That's awesome.
They were all great too. That kazooie is fucking delicious.
Yes, it was. And amidst
Chester.
opening a second location, I don't know how those guys do it because that is bonkers how they did 4 collabs and opening a second location and down here for a lot of other events too.
Yeah, I have no clue either. Those guys they don't seem to sleep. At least Chris doesn't. Yeah, and then you guys both were at them actually. Phaedra, you are now a two-time phony
winner,
question champion.
That's right.
I don't know if you get to play next year.
I mean, I'm happy. Well, it's random. I didn't,
It is random. You had the same shot that everybody else did. You just knew the answers, or at least you got to them.
I
You
guess
did a great
really
job.
well.
Yeah, you did a great job waiting for a clutch process of elimination. That was like clutch. She's sitting back watching us all flame and burn, and then she's like, "What's up? I got this."
Yeah.
Actually,
What's the only thing you guys haven't said yet? I got it.
it was solid. That's a good ploy. Good
Well,
ploy.
it's fun. It's great. And some of those questions are insane.
I know.
And I know you guys live for that, putting them together. Sean lives for it as
Of course.
well. I mean, he brought that over from the Hoppywood Squares,
Yeah.
and so it's pretty wild to just read what you guys come up with. First of all, and
tell you.
then yeah,
One of my highlights for that week, for the whole week actually, was asking the New Glarus question when Paul wasn't on the panel.
That was.
As soon as that one came up, I just snapped my face over to you, and just your head was like turning so red.
well, and that one was the pick the one that doesn't belong
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I think I don't remember who
The
it
only
was.
person in the room that
The
would have
first
gotten it
person-
in
right.
30 seconds, like
And
not
but
even
the first
30
person
seconds.
mentioned New Glarus, and everyone was like, "Okay, that's the only one that I know." Is and it was just like, oh, so there was a little
that
bit
was
of booing.
definitely at the point where my head was ready to
Ready to
explode. When the
explode.
guy's like, New Glarus? Actually, no. That one is in
That's
Wisconsin.
the dude who got the David Lynch question right, like immediately. Not that he's a beer person; it just happened to be a David
Yes.
Lynch movie that had
Totally.
beer, and he knew it immediately. So I talked to him at Peaks after the event, and he was like, "Honestly, if you guys had asked more David Lynch questions, I could have won." He's like, "I'm kind of new to beer, but
Killed it.
too.
He's like, I went to that guy's fucking funeral,
Oh my gosh! Wow,
and his girlfriend was there. She's like, yeah, we did.
it's true story. No, that's a fun one. That's a
so
super fun
fun,
event.
I know. So that one's coming back. I mean, like Sean kills the live game show
Yes.
thing. so funny.
Yeah.
And like actually has just been like a huge, like that was all RJ's idea.
Yeah.
And
Well, and also raising money for Feed 253 is
yeah,
really the
they cleaned up as far as
That's
I
awesome.
know. It was great. So $5 for every ticket went to Feed 253, which is awesome. Heidi like busts her ass and
Yeah.
does plenty of events where people
Yeah.
don't get super engaged. That is like, as far as I understand, that's one of the most engaging events that she does every year,
Yeah.
and it like really shows in how much money we can raise for Feed
yeah.
253. So
Yeah, that was really cool.
yeah, so like the nonprofit partnership part of Tacoma Beer Week has been like a huge goal of ours. Actually, Ron, like he's not here, but like he took that and ran with it so hard this week
Right.
because he raised money, I think for 4 or 5 different nonprofits.
He had
throughout the week.
the Tree Foundation,
Yep.
Polar
and
Bear.
he had
Polar Bears.
And
the Polar Bears,
Mary Bridge.
the
dog.
Mary Bridge Therapy
Yeah.
Dogs. That night was huge.
It was enormous.
We
was
yeah
awesome.
raised so much money in the silent auction, and then the coloring contest. Dolan was throwing in extra $1 for everybody who entered the coloring.
Which there was
the
so
contest.
many.
And then people were we had a pitcher, and people were just throwing cash in the pitcher, and so it was really really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Then you had the clean waters.
yep, yeah, and then there was something with the plant swap. That was
Yeah.
I'll have to look at the actual thing. So in total,
Home Arts Live maybe or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of things. Yeah.
There was throughout the week we had partnerships with 16 different nonprofits, basically. So either awareness or just raising straight up money
That's
for
really
them.
cool.
But also like doing like the cleanup that like kind of counts as well.
The food drive, which was
And the
awesome.
Oh, yeah, the food drive. Oh, yeah.
500 and
Huge.
so that was all River Barrel. That was all Grace.
Yeah,
and River
Grace.
Barrel.
Yeah.
And I actually saw Joe at Drunk Herstory last week, and like, he was like, yeah, Grace kind of just took that and ran with it, and she ended up collecting 504 pounds of food for Nourish Tacoma. So
So, do other beer weeks have that component as much as we do here in Tacoma? Do you know? Because that's pretty impressive, I think.
it's not like, it's definitely not like just non-existent. There's like, Seattle Beer Week has definitely done nonprofit stuff before
Right.
too, and Bellingham Beer Week is like pretty noteworthy in this kind of realm.
Yeah.
But I would say we probably focus on it, or at least this year we focused on it more so than a lot of other
I love
beer
that. I
weeks.
think that's just so important, and it's
Yeah.
just so great to combine the two.
I mean, it kind of depends on the goals of Beer Week. So like Seattle Beer Week, which has like always been great. Obviously they scaled back a little bit and we joke around about it, but like Seattle Beer Week has been an anchor sort of community event for
Right.
a decade.
Right.
And it used to be like really big, and they definitely did some, but it's 16 in 1 week is a lot. And
Right.
like ours this year kind of came from like a super specific targeted goal of like, if you're going to do an event, make it a collaborative event. So like 50 events, 31 different locations. It actually ended up we had about 80 different like participating sort of entities, right? So like breweries, businesses,
Right.
nonprofits, artists, musicians, like
Yeah.
if you kind of count all that. And that's like the goal was if you're going to do an event, make it collaborative.
Right.
But also the idea is to like reach a new audience.
Yeah.
Like if you're supporting a nonprofit that maybe half of the people who might really care about dogs for Mary Bridge, like service dogs for Mary Bridge, if they've never set foot into a beer business, but they have a reason to do so now, maybe they schedule their next lunch at Peaks and Pints, and that's a really big deal.
Well, and
right?
that just happened. The people, that's one of the couples that won one of the baskets. The first time they had ever been to Peaks and Pints was for
that
the
event.
actual event.
Yes.
And so they won, and they came back. Picked up their basket, did their paid for their donation or whatever, and had lunch and
Right.
and was trying things to drink and stuff like that. And so they're just like, we've never been here, and blah blah blah. So it's
that's
just like,
huge.
yeah.
And I think it's really easy, like especially when you say Beer Week, it's really easy just to focus on the beer part.
Right.
And like do sick events that if you're in the beer community, this is where Seattle Beer Week fucking killed it. Like Orcas used to do buses and like run around and
Yeah.
like hit events, and
Right.
like every event was like, if you were in the beer community, this event was so sick.
Yeah.
There's all week, it's all this stuff. But our whole thing was like as dumb as it sounds, we kind of wanted to do events that didn't really cater to beer nerds
Yeah.
a whole lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like not, and we did some, like, I mean, fucking Jeff at SIG did his double IPA night. Did you go to that?
Yeah.
Dude.
Double, triple, and quad.
Yeah, yeah.
Which
So
was
like
great.
had
Yeah.
Brewhouse
It was
on
crazy.
tap, had Anchorage on tap.
I missed
like,
that.
Had
Oh,
that was big. That was
insane
Thursday.
shit on.
Oh,
I went there
I was at home
pre-gamed
actually. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
went to the Glizzy's at the Red Hot.
How are you
Yeah.
able to do all this?
And, well, I
Two
did get some food before actually.
Oh,
Otherwise, I was
I had
really
to
going to
get
be in
some
trouble.
food, so had to go to Red Hot.
Like Grizzlies and Glizzies is another good example,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not like
Yeah.
unless you just think it's funny that it's called Glizzies. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna come to drink grisettes and have a hot dog. But if you're a nerd
Yes.
and you know what a grisette
Totally.
is, you know that it's a style you don't see very often.
Yeah.
And having
Yeah.
multiple of them on in one night is
Right.
so sick.
Yeah.
It
was crazy.
dude. It's
I
so
had,
it packs
I had
out.
a couple of them. They were really good.
So it's not that we're not doing
Awful.
those events, but it was.
the juice.
It's more like I want to find a reason. We want to find a reason for somebody who has never set foot into a bottle shop or a brewery to do
Yes,
that.
yeah.
And then hopefully they'll just stick around
Yeah.
if they like it. And so I think that's kind of where the whole like. It was kind of not a happy accident, but like, almost like coincidental that so many nonprofits kind of got lumped in.
I think it's great.
Because it's just,
Yeah.
we want to reach new audiences. And if you care about this thing, beer should just accompany that.
Right.
I think it's
and,
great too from us. Like
yeah.
for me, I was telling Andrew, I'm like, oh, it's only a half year later. I'm really going to scale back this year. Just 'cause,
Dude, I said that too. Yeah.
I was like, I'm really
I
going to
said
scale
the same
back. 'cause
dumb
last-
shit to myself.
It's cute that you thought that.
My friends.
I went to like 21 events last year. I'm like, I'm going to scale back this year. And then I was like, looking at the lineup, I'm like, oh man, but like, it's a great opportunity to get like Quinn exposed to like us being involved in the community and helping out. And I was like, man, there are all these good events.
Yeah, we all
And
use our
so-
children as excuses.
Well, no, but like, if the shoe fits,
Every
I guess.
parent does.
Totally.
But I was sitting there. I'm like, well, man, this is a great opportunity to get like the family involved in it, and it wasn't always like beer focused or beer centric, which is crazy for me, especially being the Browns Point, because like I was all geared up, for beer science. I was all about helping out there, and actually, and I was stoked about going to see Justin at the Amber Pacific concert, which
Yeah.
is great. But I mean,
stayed
like
up for
it was awesome.
It was
was.
I was,
so
I was
much
like, I'm
fun.
pretty
It
sure I
was
was in like the second row of the thing. Like,
Oh,
just
you
getting into
were?
it. Yeah. Well, I saw him live in 2005 at Warped Tour, so I was like, all right.
20-year anniversary, baby.
Right? But it was really the catalyst that drove the involvement this year, and to really just kind of keep bringing it to the community, and getting, like I said, getting the family involved, and that helped alleviate some of the stress on Andrea, so I could kind of take Quinn while we were
Yeah.
at the family events.
Yeah.
And it really just kind of helped that happen.
That's awesome. So there was, like, kind of to that point, there actually was, so, like, we did the Derby on Monday. There was way more families involved this year than there was last year, where we actually did separate brackets, which, shout out to, I wish I could remember his name, but the same fucking kid that won last year won this year.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he won last year by 1/1000th of a second in like the final thing. And so this year we had enough kids where we did a separate kids bracket. But the whole thing was like, if you win the kids bracket, you'll be entered into the adults bracket. So 7C's hooked it up. They had like a super sick RC, like DeLorean car for the kid winner. And we were like, okay, this is perfect, because like we felt bad that the kid that won last year left with a bunch of like extra large size Heidelberg hoodies. Like, sorry, kid. Like, did not think it was gonna be you. Like, there's like 19 adults here, and you smoked all of them. I'm so sorry. So we got him like a cool RC car. And then we bump him into the adults bracket, and he fucking rips, dude.
I love it.
He
That is
smokes
the best.
everybody. It kind of wasn't even close this year. Like,
Quinn and I
He
are gunning
destroyed
for him in
everybody.
2 years.
Oh, yeah? You're going
we're
for
going
it.
for it.
I love
My
it.
engineering
Dude.
and her craziness. We'll
so he like, it's so funny too, because like last year he like when he made his car, he basically like took the Heidelberg can and then just like stomped on it and then folded it in half like hot dog style, and then stomped on it and then shoved a bunch of weights in it and then taped it up, and that was his car. And it's like,
Seriously.
I swear to God, but it was like a blade going down the fucking like derby track.
I
And
love
so
that.
this year it was the same design, but it was perfected. So it was like perfect right angles, and
Oh my
like
God, that's
he'd obviously
amazing.
been practicing.
And he won the remote control car, the DeLorean.
Dude, yeah, he did. So
Okay,
he won the DeLorean,
well,
and then also a bunch of fucking Heidelberg swag again, because he beat all the adults.
They picked the right
He's
speed.
like, I already have this hat.
He's like, I already
guys out
have
on
a
the street
t-shirt.
corner.
I know.
He's out on the street corner after the fact.
Yeah, he's like totally selling it.
They picked the right stainless steel car to give away.
Oh my
Dude,
God.
yeah. It was actually awesome, and he was super stoked, and that was really cool. Shout out to that kid.
Yeah.
But there was like way more. Thanks, Doug.
Yeah.
It was cool to see families out, and like I brought Mason out to some stuff too, and we joke a lot. It's like silly to be in the beer industry, and he like tells his friends and his teachers that his dad sells beer for a living, and that's like a goofy thing. But like it was also nice to like show him that you can use it as a platform to do like a good thing.
do
like
other things,
it's a beer event, but we're like going and picking up litter, or it's a beer event where we're going and raising money for like animal conservation or to help fight hunger in our communities. Like I feel like this is probably just me like doing my own sort of copium shit, but it seems like that might be a good way of establishing like a healthy relationship with alcohol if you're a kid. Like, you don't have to tie one on. You can just use it as a platform to do like good things, and it's kind of just how people get together and do fun stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Mackenzie's event at the Parkway was really great too.
dude,
Yeah.
I was so happy at how well that turned out.
Yeah, I hope that becomes a recurring event. I hope she does it again.
Well, we might be able to grill the people involved on the next podcast episode.
I think that was really, really great. There was some great
That turned out
music,
awesome.
and it was fun. And
Yep. I went and caught Victoria Fregrosa's band at the end, and she's a friend of Arena's, and she's awesome. And the band was so sick. Honestly, that whole Saturday was just packed with music. Like we talked about the Amber Pacific show.
Yeah.
Super fun. It's fucking like 300 people jumping around to Divorced Dad pop punk, and just a hoot and a half, man.
I was the old lady in the back, in the very, very back.
There was-
like, oh my God, I'm so tired.
So Tristan's joke, from day one, he was like, "Are you guys gonna call this beer Middle-Aged Mosh Pit?"
which is a great
hilarious
beer name.
Which is hilarious.
Honestly.
It's a great beer name.
Yeah.
But then like a mosh pit formed during the show, which was really funny.
And you were there.
He was fighting off some of the.
I was, because Arena was
there too?
Oh, dude, yeah, for sure. Arena was standing right there. Also, I was looking at all the people moshing, and I knew it couldn't last long. And sure enough, I think I only got bumped like 3 times before everybody was like, "Ugh," and they went and got a glass of water. So it was fine. But as soon as like the mosh pit died after like a minute and a half, I was like, middle-aged mosh pit.
That's awesome.
Also, we kicked the fucking keg before the band even went on.
That was
That-
crazy.
it
They
was crazy.
That was the first comment I had. I'm like, man, I went to Justin, like, why didn't they have more than one keg?
What,
They
more beer?
easily could have kicked 2 kegs.
Yeah.
To
and
be fair,
possibly
we
a part of
tried.
another one.
Keith also tried.
Yeah.
Keith
Oh my
gosh.
literally
Yeah.
tapped that keg with his own hands
Yeah,
at
he
4
told-
o'clock
yeah.
that day.
Biggest mistake.
Nah,
Hey,
Biggest
man,
mistake.
if our biggest issue this year was that we sold too much beer,
I think it's okay.
Yeah, they could have easily
It's
sold
a good problem
so
to
much
have,
more,
as
though.
they
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Phaedra, can I hear your fuck up story from the 999 building since we're on that topic?
So you can.
All right, Grit and Grainers. I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So, please do regale us with your fuck-up stories.
And what's funny, it's funny that it's you and I that are here, because we have this kind of common thing where we sometimes, have a little issue with my frequent attendance to Dave Matthews Band concerts. So that's an overarching part of it. But when I was working in the building, this job, I was project managing a big IT transition. It was all behind the scenes tech stuff. But I was project managing all the pieces to it, just making sure that all the things happened. And basically, it was transitioning from one, what we call a record keeper, a holder of all the data, and to another one for a client of ours. And they picked Labor Day weekend because they figured that would be when a lot of the participants, it's retirement funds, wouldn't be necessarily trying to access their information. So they picked Labor Day weekend. Well, you know where I go on Labor Day weekend. And so I was just like, oh, okay. And they said, no problem, we'll get you out there by noon on Friday. Okay, great. Well, it didn't happen. I didn't get out of there at noon on Friday because it was, technology, whatever, stuff happens. So I don't remember exactly what time I actually got out of there, but it was probably close to like 3 o'clock or something like that. So I'm already stressing, and I'm parked in the basement of the building. And I'm in my car, leaving frantically, like, okay, I'm on my way, blah, blah, blah. And it's got the garage doors. They're kind of like chain mail, whatever, the ones that go up or whatever, and everything's key card access, right? So you have to key card in, you have to key card out. So I'm in my minivan, because back then I was driving a minivan, and I'm stressing, whatever, blah, 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 and I have my key card on my lanyard, because that's what you did back then, you wore it on your lanyard, and I lean over to the thing to swipe myself to get the gate to rise, and I'm too far away. So I take my foot off of the pedal in question, which would be the brake pedal, not realizing that I wasn't in park.
Oh my God.
And I reach over to swipe it, and at that point is when I realize, oh, shit.
I can't look away.
The car's gonna keep moving. So it did. And halfway up, the gate's going up. My car is going forward. So my car meets the gate. There's a, minivan-shaped dent in the gate. My windshield wipers are broken, and there's scratches all over my car. And I'm just like, oh my God, what do I do now?
What was this do back?
So I have to, park the car, and I go running up to the we have a security guard, 24 hours, whatever. And he just looks at me, because there's video. He sees everything. And he's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm just like, oh my God. What? And he's just like, I can't. And he's like, it's broken. I'm like, I know it's broken, but I need to go because I've got a concert.
I have to go to St. Matthews. Just arrest me.
Just do whatever you need to do.
see Crash Into Me. I need to see
I
it.
need to see it.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
She's like, this song's about me.
Oh, I'm sweating telling the story because I don't think I've
Grittin'
ever told it other than, everybody I worked with knew of it. But anyway, so we had to open the other side. I left. I'm like, y'all figure it out. I'm gone for the weekend, whatever, come back. I don't know how long it took them to fix that, but it was probably a good 30 days or whatever, where you could only go in and out like one side because it was, seriously, yeah. So that's my backup story.
All right, Grit and Grainers. Email us at cheers@gritandgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and favorite things about Ron, because in his absence, it's not hard to like and respect Ron. He's the kind of person that sets the bar high in everything he does, especially limbo. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as fast as we can, if not online, then on air. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on Instagram, YouTube, and where you get your podcasts. Also, check us out on Channel 253, Douglas, and gritandgrainpodcast.com. How many Rons does it take to screw in a light bulb? Just one, but not immediately, because he needs to plan a community event around it. He will call it the annual Changing of the Light Bulb Festival, featuring many freshly tapped kegs that are on theme, such as Odd Otters, Oddly Light, Holy Mountains, The Seer, Little Beasts, Electric Sunshine, and of course, Fort Sides, Let There Be Light. If this podcast is not what you expected, sure, you could alter your expectations, or maybe hold fast to them. Write in. Tell us how we're the ones who should change. Subscribe to our YouTube. Leave us many comments. More than that. Keep going. Fill up the comment section. You won't, though. Not even if we double dog dared you, which we do. No Bad Time is a black IPA collab we did with Logan Brewing. No such thing as a bad time to visit Peaks and Pints.
Yeah.
No such thing as too much barley wine. Ron walked into a bar. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Tune in next time for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Good up.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Move to Tacoma, Interchangeable White Ladies, What Say You, Citizen Tacoma, and Kitchen 253.
This is Channel 253.